Hi, how you doing? I've got a good couple of ones today, which are about the same subject, and I was just smiling to myself. I feel like a bit like the news update today. A couple of emails which cover the same subject, and I think are really, really crucial, are really key to people that have suffered from emotional abuse. Sorry, distracted them. So I'm just going to read them out and then talk about them. First one's from a gentleman that I've got. And I've received it from a gentleman. Why, if I am able to identify abusive behaviour, am I not able to convince myself it's not me? Even though I realise I've had unrealistic expectations put on me by controlling parents, can't I break free? I'm 45 years old. Why do I still feel as if I'm to blame for everything? Can you please explain or give me a vid to help me understand? That is really a good point, really crucial stuff to people that have had emotional abuse. Another one, slightly longer, I'll try and rattle through it quickly. I was brought up in a verbally abusive home. My dad was the abuser. I was then groomed for a year by a social worker when I was 16. This experience taught me to doubt my gut feeling. I had issues with depression, anxiety and suicidal thoughts, and most of my relationships with partners have been not good. About a year and a half ago, I finally left a relationship that was destroying my self-worth and went through what I thought was a stage of apathy. But maybe it was what it feels like when there's no mess in your life. Whatever it was great. Now I'm well balanced, have lots more confidence and drive than I ever had. I'm getting to 30, so it's about time I had some happy I was happy and succeeding. However, she goes on to say that now she's felt ready to see somebody, have a relationship again, but that the gentleman she's seeing is starting she's starting to question him. He seemed very nice at first when he was on best behaviour. Every time he sees me now, he says, "Have you been messing around with any boys?" And looks angry, but then laughs and pretends he's just joking. He also says things like, "You idiot," or "Shut up and eat your dinner." Or one time when I'd slept in, he said, "You're useless." He says I need to eat more because I'm too skinny, but I'm a good weight and I eat well. Understand that some people aren't aware that most people find things hurtful, so I tried to talk to him about it and explain that I take it personally, and could he do his best to not to use negative words like that with me. He said that I'm too sensitive and I'm being silly, and he's just joking and he thinks I'm great just the way I am. He always says things like this like this in a loud and frustrated voice. He also made it uncomfortable to say no to sex, but that's hard to explain. And he once said, "I hope you're not one of those girls who start refusing sex when you get into a relationship, and he gets annoyed when I have my period." Very common stuff, this, really common stuff, which makes it good. You know, to be able to share this stuff, it's really good. He said that if she felt that it was a bad relationship, so she started moving towards finishing it. He said that if we were going to break up, he'd rather see me again to say goodbye. And we met in a cafe, and I could not speak. No words apart from answering his questions would come out of my mouth. We didn't talk about any issues, and it was like we were back together again automatically. Yet later on, when he was a little bit drunk, a while later, he said not to call him when I'm tired, because I'm irrational when I'm tired, and I blow things out of proportion. So I'm not laughing at this lady. I'm just it's so bizarre when you hear it from another person. It's like the symptoms are so classic. It's so almost predictable. It's so wonderful that an abuser can be so blatant. Whenever I'm around him, I feel I have no voice, and I'm scared of dropping things. I'm scared like I was with my dad, and I know he's very much like him. I always try to do the right thing by others and feel that if I was going to break up with him, I'd need to do it in person. Why do I chicken out, and when I chicken out, convince myself to give it more time? Help. She's just put, I'm sorry that I wrote so much, but I've been finding it hard to explain to anyone. It doesn't seem to sound as bad when I tell them, and then I feel that maybe I'm too sensitive and emotional, and maybe I have trust issues or something. Very confused. So, gosh, there's loads in there. There's just loads of stuff, but it's all very classic stuff. when people have been brought up in an abusive environment, they're just layered upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of negative beliefs about them. You know, that actually they believe they probably are too sensitive because they've been told again and again and again that they're too sensitive, they're stupid, they're being stupid, so they haven't been given a balance in their life. They've just been given this negativity by an abusive person that isn't balanced in their emotional well-being, I guess, in their emotional development. They haven't been supported in their emotional development, therefore they're out of balance, and they pass that on in the environment that these people grow up in. So all these subconscious levels, I mean, it is just a bit like driving, and it's really difficult to tell somebody how to drive when you drive a car and you've been doing it automatically for 20 years or longer. When you do something so automatically, and somebody says, "Well, how do you, how do you drive a car?" Well, you just oh no, that. But before you do that, you have to do. Oh, and then I better tell you about, So it's just so many layers. You don't think about driving when you're driving, and that's a really simple analogy. But all these beliefs and layers about yourself are really deep, and you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you do know. So it gets really confusing. So I can see in those emails, and I can hear the language of negativity, the language of victims, and it's really hard to break out of. It's really hard to become aware of it, and I'm conscious that it's getting a longer video. So I think more of this subject anon. It's good stuff. You have to get to a tipping point, and that tipping point is where you get so goddamn fed up with yourself that you go, right, time for something different. Energy, positive energy, thinking positively is such a key to this stuff. So notice that when you're questioning yourself, that's negative energy, negative, negative, negative. I'm bad, I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm too, all this stuff. But when you're feeling bad, all these thoughts are going on subconsciously, probably, that you're not good enough, that you need to try harder, that you need to, you shouldn't have dropped that, you shouldn't have, It's all instilled in us automatically. As children, we learn, of course, we're so adaptable. We learn to adapt to the situations, the environments. Yet we forget what we've learned later on in life. We just carry on automatically. It's common sense. But when you've been in an environment of emotional abuse, it's very easy to grow up as a victim. And I can hear and see the language of victims in that. So when you're really fed up, get that tipping point, I've had enough. A great starting point is to notice the positive thoughts that are guiding the positive feelings. So use your stomach, your feelings, as a gauge. Am I thinking positive things or am I not? Anyway, I think that's a separate blog in itself, so we'll do more of that later. But thank you so much for those 2 emails. That's fantastic. And again, people that are suffering the similar sorts of things, you are not alone. All right, keep the comments coming. Many thanks. Bye-bye.